This is the umarex Desert Eagle. It's made fully of plastic except for the internal parts. It's 177 caliber. It fires at 425 feet per second. It's CO2 powered. You get about 40 to 50 shots out of one CO2 cartridge, which isn't really that many. So if you're going to buy this gun, make sure you have a good budget for CO2 because it'll go through it really fast. The CP Sport, you can get 100 shots out of it. That's just a good comparison. How fast this gun uses up CO2. It uses so much CO2 because of the higher velocity and because the slide blows back every single time you fire the gun, and it actually kicks a little bit. Not too much that it's hard to control, but if you're shooting really fast, it's going to affect how often you hit the target. It comes with this tool to open the CO2 compartment under the magazine here. There's no removable magazine like in the CP Sport, which would be nice if it did, but this is still just fine for loading CO2. It also comes with this Picatinny rail to mount under the barrel. I didn't put mine on because I don't have a use for it, but you can mount a flashlight or a laser on it. I think it makes the gun look really ugly though. It also comes with one magazine, and this is the exact same kind of magazines that come with the CP Sport. And you can order packages of just these magazines, so if you want to be able to reload without loading up a whole new magazine, then this comes in really handy. As I said, this gun's made completely out of plastic on the outside. It's not cheap plastic, it's not that cheap polystyrene stuff that toys are made out of. It's the same plastic that the CP Sport is made out of, and I'm pretty sure it's the same kind of plastic that Glock handguns are made out of. The only metal external part is the hammer. It's very durable, and it can be decocked by pulling the trigger and holding onto the hammer, and then it slowly come back to the gun. The only thing that feels flimsy on this gun is the slide release. It feels pretty fragile. I wouldn't mess with it too much. But other than that, this gun's very durable and it'll last you many years if you don't abuse it. There's also a Picatinny rail built right into the top of the barrel. You can mount a scope on that. I didn't buy one, but you can also buy this gun in a package off the internet that comes with the Red Dot site. You could probably also mount a normal pistol scope on here. I don't know if you'd actually need one because this gun's only accurate to about 33 feet. Both sights are made out of plastic. The rear sight's adjustable for windage and only, not elevation. It's adjusted by a small screw. On the top of it, you loosen that screw and you can slide it left or right. When I first got this gun, the rear sight wasn't in the package and I had to order that separately. They gave it to me for free though, but I don't know if this is going to happen to any of you. It could have been just a freak thing. The safety is ambidextrous. That means you can use it on the left or right side of the gun. When the red's showing, it means the gun's ready to fire. The safety lever itself is made of plastic, but the internal part is metal. And it doesn't feel cheap when you move it either. The trigger is made of plastic. I read a review on the internet that someone said they were scared to squeeze it too hard because it would break. That just simply will not happen. That's an over-exaggeration. It doesn't feel any more flimsy than any other rifle trigger that I've ever fired on an air gun. It feels just as strong as the CP Sport, which has a very strong trigger. And this gun also fires in single or double action. That means that it'll fire double action for the first shot unless you cock the hammer for the first shot. And all the shots after that, the slide will blow back and recock the hammer. So you won't have to move the hammer, cock the hammer or the trigger itself. It'll just be a much shorter trigger pull. There's no weight here at all until you get to the very back of the trigger pull. And then it goes. It's a very short trigger pull and it's very light. It's a little bit creepy too, but you'll get used to it pretty fast. This is where the CO2 goes. You use that tool I showed you before to unscrew this brass cap. Then you put the CO2 cartridge into the compartment and you tighten it tightly. When you put the CO2 in, you should put a drop of Crosman Tell gun oil on it. It'll help lubricate the seal and it'll last a lot longer. This is the magazine compartment. This magazine sits a little bit further down into the gun than the CP Sport does, which makes it a little bit harder to get out by picking it up with your fingers. So what I do is I open the magazine compartment and I turn the gun on its side and then I let it roll out because it does fit quite far down into the compartment and it can be difficult to get out with your fingers. The barrel is about 4.5 inches long. It's this gun is quite accurate. It'll shoot 3/4 inch groups at 25 feet. The grip on this gun is quite large, so if you're a kid you might not want to buy this gun because the grip is big enough that it might be very difficult for you to actually fire this gun. I have a pretty good sized hand and it's a little bit big for me. So if you're a kid under 14, I recommend that you buy the CP Sport or a different pistol altogether. This gun takes a little bit of technique to shoot it very rapidly. I'll go over those techniques in another video that I'll be putting up next after this one. The technique is only to control the recoil and control the muzzle of the gun when you pull the trigger fast. It's pretty simple. It takes some getting used to though. Now I'm going to show you how to put the CO2 into this gun. Basically, you just unscrew this brass cap. Put the CO2 cartridge into the compartment. Put the cap back on. It can be a little bit tricky because sometimes the threads want to go across each other, and be careful when you do that. If it's going on hard at first, then take it out and start again because it'll ruin the threads in this. And once it's so tight you can't turn it with your fingers, you use the tool to turn it. Turn it until it's very, very tight so no CO2 leaks out. And that's all there is to it. Now we're going to do an accuracy test. I'm going to fire 8 shots at a target downrange about 25 feet away. I'm going to see how we do. This is the results of the accuracy test. It isn't very good. I've shot much better groups of this gun before. I don't know what's going on today. I haven't cleaned it right before I did this video. This is about 5 shots in this little area here, then there's 1, 2, 3 out here. So I guess that's not that bad, but I have shot much better groups of this gun. So, just so you know, the gun can shoot quite a bit better than this. Maybe it was the rust I was shooting, maybe it wasn't quite steady, but this gun is a lot better than this.